Hi, Tiffany Allen here from DynamicPoint. Today I'm going to take you through our EasyAP365 solution. So this is your affordable Office 365 invoice automation application. I'm going to get started right away here. What I'm going to do is first put on the hat of being a vendor to highlight the flexible methods in which vendors can get invoices to your organization. First and foremost, many of you are probably utilizing email right now. You've probably got an email inbox that you can monitor for invoices. This will sync directly to our application. So I'm going to upload a DynamicPoint invoice from today, and we'll go ahead and attach a file. Here's our DynamicPoint invoice, and I'll go ahead and fire that off to submit. That will kick off or trigger workflow via Flow to ensure that the appropriate person within the business, as you configure the workflow, the appropriate person within the business can review and approve the invoice. But I'll show that to you in a moment. The next method that you could utilize for your vendors to submit invoice is via a page on your site. So we would set up this invoice submission page. And what's really nice about this is that you can force your vendor to fill out some of the information that is contained on the invoice, limiting the amount of data that your AP team then has to key in. So that's a pretty slick feature that can eliminate keystrokes within your department, within the AP department, because we'll flow this information directly into the EasyAP application. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that file. And I'm going to say consulting fees. You can even have, we can populate custom fields here that can get pulled forward to ensure that it's a little easier for people in the business to review and approve the invoice, as well as AP knowing how to code things appropriately. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. Again, that will trigger an email notification to the vendor, letting them know that the invoice has been received, as well as they'll get a notification directly from the site. So the next element that I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight how maybe maybe you work with a lot of contractors or subcontractors, and those vendors want to be able to submit invoices via mobile phone or device. Our application is fully integrated with OneDrive, so what we would do is share with you a link for your vendors to be able to upload invoices. So I'll just simply click invoice upload. I hit the plus sign, gives me a lot of options. The best one really is this scan feature. It launches the camera, and I'll take a picture of my invoice, but what's nice is you're going to see it crop out the computer. Not great, probably rendering through the screen share here, but I'll blow this invoice up in a moment. This is a Dos Equis catering invoice that we're going to process. Now, before I hop out of my mobile phone, I do want to highlight for you the Flow application. I'd mentioned that we utilize workflow to kick off the review and approval for the business to say, hey, this invoice, yay or nay. And what's nice about that is Flow is going to kick into the workflow before AP even has to touch the invoice. So I'm going to launch the Flow app. They certainly can do it by email. I'll show you the emails when we get back to my desktop, but I also want to show it to you through Flow, the app on your phone. You can set up notifications here, and you quickly see that here is the invoice approval from email that I just generated. And then there's a second one here. Here's the invoice approval from the website. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this first one. As I look at it here, it shows that it was submitted this morning, the 29th at 7:35, and I can even link back to the invoice. What's really nice there is the business has got that notification on their mobile device, a notification from Flow, an email. Oh, that's the consulting invoice. I know exactly what that is. I'm going to approve that. I'm going to add a comment and say approve. This is consulting fees. If I could type. Now that the invoice is approved, we've automatically created the invoice in our EasyAP365 application. I'll switch gears and I'll go show you that user interface now. Alrighty. Whoop. I can get rid of this. We'll start from scratch. So here we go. Here's EasyAP365. The first thing you're going to see is that we do have that DynamicPoint invoice for $5,000. That's the one we just reviewed and approved. What's beautiful about that is we know it came from DynamicPoint. We know it was approved. We were able to populate the allocation template. Allocation templates are ways that you guys can assign GLs to any frequently received invoices. Maybe it's by vendor, maybe it's by department or company. This one we did by vendor, pretty simple. We've got the GL assignment down. We know that it was $5,000. But AP is now going to go ahead and look at it. Perfect, that's $5,000. It's got all the correct information on it. My GL assignments are done. They literally are simply reviewing. They didn't have to make any keystrokes for this particular invoice. It was electronically submitted. We kicked off workflow, got that review and approval. We knew who the vendor was, so we automatically assigned the template. They can now submit that for integration to your Dynamics environment. Very streamlined process. Relatively zero data entry for the AP team for that particular transaction. Now, on some invoices, they might have to do a little bit more legwork, right? So let's create a new invoice, and we're going to see that here is the scan that I did earlier today. We did that scan from my mobile device, and let's go ahead and preview it. These are anything that's been received via the web form, been emailed in, everything goes into this staging library. Here's that Dulseki catering invoice I mentioned before, or that we just showed before on my mobile phone. It's already synced to the AP library. I know that's the one that I want to code now. I'm going to go ahead and hit select. As I hit select, it does pop the invoice into a separate window, so you can do a split screen. I'll say my split screen's not super duper fancy because I'm on a smaller laptop, but for those in the AP department, maybe they have 2 monitors, larger screens, they can easily view the invoice at the same time they're typing in just a few bits of information. And this is really what we want to highlight, is that how streamlined the process is. So I'm not going to use the invoice number on the actual printed invoice because it would give me an error for a duplicate invoice. So we'll say this is DC Catering 06/29/2018, today's date, and it has an amount of $6,000. And I know that the DC Catering organization is one of our marketing vendors, so I'm going to select marketing. I'm going to go ahead and close this now if you guys don't mind, so we can blow up the AP screen here. I know it's marketing, but the marketing GL predetermined allocations can be utilized for many of our marketing vendors. So I'm going to go in and choose Dulseki Catering. And as I hit update, we're automatically going to assign the GLs. And this is a method to obviously streamline the data entry process for your AP team, but now it's their opportunity to review it and make sure everything was accurate. Now, in this particular case, there were 2 line items, and I actually want to split these allocations across those line items versus the simple 50-50 split. So, as I do that, I'm going to pull our invoice back up real quick so I can see what those amounts were. It was $3,500 and $2,500. So I'm going to hit edit, and I'm going to update these line items to match the line items on the invoice associated to those applicable GLs. So in this case, there was a little bit more data entry, not much. I entered in the invoice number, the amount, I selected an allocation template as well as the vendor, and I even, in this case, I had an exception, 2 keystrokes to go ahead and update those exceptions, and I can now fire off that submission. There we go. I'm going to do one more invoice, process one more invoice, because the other method in which obviously invoices are going to get into the system is definitely by snail mail. So we showed website upload, mobile phone upload, email, but obviously safe to assume there will be occasions where you get snail mail and you're going to need to scan in those invoices. You can go ahead and grab them directly from your machine and upload them. This is an Intercity Electric invoice. As I upload it, same scenario, it pops it into a new screen so I can do the split screen for my very quick data entry. I'm going to call this one Intercity 06/29 so I don't get an error of a duplicate invoice again. My amount's $2,520. And on this one, Intercity Electric, I know, is a vendor that is tied to our European template. That Europe template already has pre-assigned allocations and also has a pre-assignment specific to this vendor of Intercity Electric. So it can be a one-to-one relationship, template to vendor, or it can be a one-to-many. This one I set up as one-to-one. And as I hit update, we'll be able to go ahead and see those allocations. I'll drill in. Now, hopefully this is correct. Hopefully your template setup for Europe is absolutely accurate for those various allocations. If not, I showed before how you could edit an amount. You can also edit the percent. I'm not going to do that today, but I just wanted to highlight that flexibility. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit so we can ensure we've got a few transactions to look at in the Dynamics environment. Before I open up Dynamics GP, that's in my demo environment, that's who we're going to highlight today, I do want to pop into email real quick. We looked at the email notification from Flow, but I also want to show you what it looks like when you receive the email notification, or an email notification versus just a Flow notification. So here it is. It was created on Friday the 29th. An invoice has been received and is ready for review and approval. Same scenario, it allows you to link out to the invoice for ease in reviewing and approval. Oh, I think it's not found because we integrated that one, right? Sorry about that. But that is exactly what the email looks like. And again, you can approve or reject, including comments directly from email. Also, there is a notification that, those are from invoice. Oh, I wanted to bounce back here. This is what I wanted to show you. Your vendor also gets a notification that the email was approved. So the invoice submitted to DynamicPoint with the subject of X, invoice title of X, has been approved and is in process for payment. We visit the vendor portal to check on payment status. Now, before the demo started today, I actually did a rejection as well. So if for some reason the business says, hey, no, this invoice is not valid, you can even automate a rejection notice to go back to your vendor so they can rework through that. So this says the invoice submitted to DynamicPoint was rejected due to the following reason. Unfortunately, I didn't give a reason. Otherwise, that would populate for you there. So let's pop back over here. So we have now integrated 3 different invoices, and I want to show those to you in Dynamics GP. Again, we integrate with all Dynamics ERP solutions. Our demo today is just set up specific to GP. I'm in the GP web client. I'm going to go to transaction entry and pull up my payable transactions. So we integrate via web services. You will see that these are coming through in batches. So these are, we can integrate them as an hourly, daily, or weekly batch. In my case, they're coming through as a daily batch. Let's start with that first one we completed. This is Intercity Electric IC for June 29th. And let's go look at the distributions. We had a 50-50 split there, so we'll see the 1260 specific to those 2 different GLs. Now, we created 2 other transactions. Let's take a peek at those. We'll save that and move on. Dulceki Catering. Again, this is the one we just created on June 29th. I'll click into the distributions. I made a modification on this one. It was a $3,500 line item and a $2,500. That is being reflected and pulled through. Immediately upon the review by the AP department and submission, we seamlessly create the invoice directly in Dynamics for you. One more. Let's go ahead and look at that last one, which was DynamicPoint. And here we go. It was created today, June 29th, 2018. If I go ahead and look at those distributions, this one, there was only 1 GL distribution for that $5,000. It's notated for you there. Well, I greatly appreciate your time and you joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to visit us at dynamicpoint.com and have a great afternoon.